Very important broadcast lined up for you today. It is Sunday, the 19th of September, 2010. We're going to be live here for the next 2 hours, and we're going to have open phones for first-time callers, people who have never been able to get through live on air, folks that have been listening for years, have never tried to call. We would love to hear from you today. The toll-free number is 888-201-2244, 888-201-2244, and we will get you up and on the air. Okay. We have a lot of important news here today to go over on the economy. The Arizona Republic is talking about criminal investigations of Joe Arpaio, the sheriff out in Phoenix, Arizona. We've got members of U.S. platoon and Afghan accused of killing civilians for sport in Afghanistan. We have Janet Napolitano, head of Homeland Security, making jokes about being known as Big Sis, making jokes about Big Sis, Big Brother. So I thought we'd look at some of the things that have continued from Bush and now under Obama. If this isn't Big Brother, then I don't know what is. That is going to be coming up as well. There's a very powerful article that just talks about a couple-year period, a 4-year period in China where 45 million people were killed by the communists. That's in the London Independent. Mao, the Chinese say, killed 84 million. Our government says 64 million. But their own government says 80-plus million. But it's admitted on record 45 million in just a 4-year period. And if you look at the policies of Mao Zedong, they're very similar to the carbon taxes and the globalists. Well, of course they are. Our government admits they put Mao Zedong into power. That's declassified now in 1949. And so to understand the dream scenario for the global social engineers, you need to look at Mao Zedong. Very important. It's also admitted our government helped put the head of the Khmer Rouge, Pol Pot, into power. Zbigniew Brzezinski's written 2 books bragging about that, and they killed 30% of the population there. And, of course, he was supposedly anti-communist. All that matters is they exterminate a large portion of society, re-engineer things. That's how they wipe out old power structures and put in their new power structures, similar to the Bolsheviks, of course, funded by the U.S. and British governments in 1917, 1918. So we're going to be looking at that report today. There's good news. Texas sues to block bizarre, that's the quote, global warming, EPA rules. And this is a announcement made by Texas Attorney General, Mr. Abbott, going into the fact that it's all a complete fraud to steal money, that it's based on scientific fraud, and so Texas is suing to block this going in. Of course, Congress would not pass the carbon taxes, so Jackson and others in the Obama administration are going ahead with it. They're now officially not calling it global warming. They're calling it global climate disruption. So they've got a new fraud. First, it was the Ice Age in the 70s. Since the 80s and 90s and 2000, 2010, the last 25 years, it's been global warming. Now it's just a thunderstorm is evil and is abnormal. They actually say that. A snowstorm, a thunderstorm, hot weather, anything is abnormal. And if you pay a tax to Al Gore and the central banks, they're going to take really good care of you. So that's coming up. Also, FDA won't allow food to be labeled free of genetic modification. Report has now come out on that front. This is being reported by Reuters, AP, and Raw Story. It's got a boil down on it. And so, yeah, they'll tax you for a thunderstorm because that's abnormal. They'll tax you for exhaling carbon dioxide that plants breathe, that plants respirate from and creates photosynthesis with the sun. But they won't let you know you're eating a salmon that's got insect genes in it. They won't let you know you're eating genetically engineered soybeans. They won't let you know about something really serious. That's because they're a bunch of frauds. So that's all coming up as well. But first, on the other side of this quick break, globalists openly push world taxation and a new global currency. It's here, and it's happening now. This is going on now. This is happening now. We're going to break down this all-important issue and try to alert the world population. On the other side, Infowars.com is the website. Thank you for joining us, my friends. It is Sunday, the 19th day of September, 2010. On this live Sunday broadcast, we're going to be here for the next 2 hours. We're also simulcasting the syndicated radio broadcast in full living multicam, multicast shoot in video living color at prisonplanet.tv if you'd like to watch the show, not just listen to it. And if you are watching, you'll notice that I have all these giant stacks of important news. One of the big ones I'm going to be getting into in the next hour after we cover some other important news and take your calls is state's Homeland Security chief goes into hiding. This is out of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. And here is another report out of the Pittsburgh Tribune-Review. Quakers anti-war rallies on alert list. And what are we talking about here? Well, here's our report from yesterday. We also reported on this originally and first. 2 weeks ago, Pennsylvania Homeland Security targeted Tea Parties and put them on terrorist list and said they may be terrorist because they want to cut taxes. That was one of the reasons used. And it turns out $125,000 was paid to a Israeli company to collect the databases and spy on people. And it turns out at the G20 last year, they were actually used to create intelligence reports for pre-raids on some of the anti-G20 activist groups, including liberal groups and conservative groups. And so we're going to be talking about that coming up. And I want to dovetail it with this report. This report is out of the Arizona Republic. Arizona Sheriff Arpaio's office surveilled political rivals. And they say that criminal charges are in the making right now because he used his intelligence unit to spy on political rivals. Now, I've got mixed feelings about Arpaio. He is tough on crime. He's bucked the feds on the open borders and the illegal alien crime wave. But he has violated citizens' rights, and I'm against that. But you notice he's the guy trying to actually enforce the law against illegal aliens, and so the feds are suing him, suing the state, doing criminal investigations, and they've now gone in and gotten sheriff's deputies to claim he was doing things that are clearly illegal. Now, I've got a question here. You've got all over the country, Homeland Security hiring British intelligence, Israeli intelligence. I mean, even FEMA put out press releases for NLE-09 and admitted in a drill with 14 nations that they had 14 foreign countries in the U.S. helping surveil mainly conservatives and libertarians. And it's clearly illegal. But the point is, why are they going after Arpaio? This is all part of the selective enforcement. So we're going to be discussing that coming up in the second hour this evening. And if your local station doesn't carry all of the show, you can always listen to the streams or the free podcast or the free iPhone app at Infowars.com. Or if you miss any of the broadcast, it's all at Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com, and, of course, JonesReport.com. So we're going to be looking at this Arpaio situation versus what's happening in Ohio, Pennsylvania, and other states. Because it's not just happening in this news report in Pennsylvania. We also have, in the last 2 months, 3 separate Tea Party groups in Ohio were told you're not allowed to demonstrate, you're not allowed to have rallies, because we think you're a hate group. And if the government now doesn't like you, you're not allowed to demonstrate. Now notice how they say, oh, you got to have a permit to demonstrate. They turn a right into a privilege. Then they just stop issuing the permits. You don't need a permit. The courts have ruled over and over again to demonstrate. You need a permit to block a highway or a road for, say, a Macy's Day Parade. You need a permit to block, major city streets. The police and local city councils and legislatures and the state police and others are all across the country. Different agencies are always trying to say, we're not going to issue you a permit. They cannot stop you. They have literally lost thousands of lawsuits in the last 100 years on this subject. And Friday, on Constitution Day, a federal judge overthrew the particular city in Ohio's block on the Ohio Tea Party for being able to celebrate Constitution Day. But the reason they were blocking them was because these different private intelligence groups that get taxpayer money had put them on a list. And this was a mainline Tea Party group they put on a list and banned from protesting. But you still can't ban black supremacists, Mexican supremacists, white supremacists, and others. That's how they always try to set the precedent in Europe and other places, and now in the U.S. Oh, well, they're extremists. They can't demonstrate. Well, once you take their rights, you lose your rights. It's very elementary. But the big issue here is everywhere, government is trying to block people's right to free speech on the internet, their right to rally, their right to demonstrate. We're seeing more and more of this, and it's getting very scary. Every week or two, I see a report out of the FBI where they're banning British and EU citizens and others for life to ever traveling to the United States for sending emails to Obama at the White House that are mildly insulting. They don't call for violence. They don't do anything. You know, they call the president mild names, not even profane terms, because it's a family show. I won't even use them. But you can pull it up, you know, teen banned from life from U.S. for sending email to Obama. It'll pull up, you know, AP, Reuters, you name it. So the issue here is we're being conditioned to accept an end to free speech. Supreme Court Justice Breyer last week on ABC Good Morning America said, yes, we're going to probably have a court case soon and probably ban burning Korans or Bibles or American flags. Anything that upsets anyone else, you won't be allowed to do. Well, then all free speech is over. And we've got the FCC head, we've got the FCC diversity head on record. You can pull up these clips on YouTube. You know, FCC board member says that they will start regulating speech on the web. FCC board member says they will force diversity on the internet. This is the type of stuff that's going on. You've got the White House regulation czar, who was the boss of Kagan, the new Supreme Court justice, openly saying, we're going to ban saying man-made global warming, anthropogenic global warming isn't real. I mean, literally hundreds of statements a month without even looking. I'm not even looking for this stuff. I just see it everywhere. I'm sure you're seeing it as well on TV, radio, print, where government is calling for censorship of talk radio, the internet, and that's because the dinosaur media is dying. The dinosaur media has been discredited, and so it needs to come in and start using government control to shut down its competition. That's why we have this dangerous perfect storm of old dinosaur media, so-called liberal progressive media predominantly, that almost no one buys into, teaming up with government to try to come in and start restricting free speech. So if you want that God-given right protected, for your right to speak up, your right to write an email, your right to rally, your right to demonstrate, your right to have access to the websites you want to read, you had better support everyone else's free speech, even if you hate it, even if it's abhorrent, even if it's horrible. But more on that coming up. But this is really creepy all over the country that they've got foreign intelligence groups